Mic check 1 2. Leaving out today to go do this was definitely heavy on me. Just to know that where I'm going is a spot and a place that my ancestors occupied that's currently a park that people just go to enjoy with their family and friends, enjoy the weather, enjoy the day, go play with your kids. To know that my ancestors actually lived here, raised families here, had life experiences here, just a stone's throw away from where I currently work and walking distance from my job is just amazing to me. So Seneca Village was a 19th century settlement of mostly African American landowners in the borough of Manhattan in New York City, in current day Central Park. The settlement was located on about 5 acres near the Upper West Side neighborhood. So from basically 82nd Street to 89th and 7th Avenue, that was Seneca Village. It was founded in 1825 by free black Americans, the first such community in the city. At its peak, the community had 264 residents, 3 churches, a school, and 2 cemeteries. The settlement was also inhabited by Germans and Irish immigrants. Seneca Village existed until 1857. When through eminent domain, the villagers and other settlers in the area were ordered to leave and their houses were torn down for the construction of Central Park. The entirety of the village was dispersed except for one congregation that relocated. Several vestiges of Seneca Village existence have been found over the years, including 2 graves and a burial plot. The settlement was largely forgotten until the publication of Roy Rosenzweig and Elizabeth Blackmore's book, The Park and the People, A History of Central Park in 1992. The Seneca Village Project was formed in 1998 to raise awareness of the village, and several archaeological digs have been conducted. In 2001, a historical plaque was unveiled commemorating the site where Seneca Village once stood. So walking through this place, it's right next to the Great Lawn. Let's go left. To the left, to the left. Everything you want to the best, to the left. All right, brother. Looks like another high point. I don't know if you can see this girl with the yellow on.
She like wanted to start another coffee.
Where'd she go? She's on top of a rock. It looks like another high point of the park. That's her brother. There she is.
Are you looking at a bird?
No. Documenting some history for Seneca Village.
Oh. So some people just asked me if I saw the white owl. No kidding, no joke. If I saw the white owl or the snow owl, the snow white owl. Like, no. I don't know what you're talking about. So I let them know why I was here. I'm here because this is Seneca Village. I'm here to film some information, get some footage about Seneca Village, and they looking Seneca Village, where formerly enslaved African Americans occupied this area, lived here. More than 80 homes, schools, were able to vote when the requirement was to have property in excess of $250 in residency for 3 years. So more than 100 of them were able to vote. More than 20 of them were able to vote when there were only 100 black people able to vote at that time in New York. It's just, man, I've never been to Africa, but I feel a kinship. It's a vibe. So this area is from 82nd Street to 89th on the west side of the park. A lot of hills, a lot of people enjoying the snow of the landscape with their children, or just sitting around talking, taking pictures, enjoying a day in New York City. Possibly fully unaware of where they stand, where they walk, and the history right under their feet. They located a burial ground here. Might be some info over there. This guy was just looking at it, so we're gonna head over there. Now that he's gone, check it out. I hear somebody behind me. Summit Rock. At 142 feet above sea level, this hill is the highest elevation in Central Park and was a prominent feature of the Seneca Village landscape. The hill, now called Summit Rock, is actually a massive bedrock outcrop. Just below on Central Park West, you can see a cross-section of this enormous rock, which was blasted to create the avenue. The rough and steep terrain made it a difficult place to build, and maps show that no one lived here. This location offered extensive views in all directions. From the top, village residents could take in the surrounding landscape. To the north and east was their community, and to the west was the Hudson River and the hills of New Jersey beyond. The rock provided a sense of prospect. It was a place to take in the village as a whole, and perhaps also spot approaching visitors. Summit Rock. There's some QR codes for you to get more information.
It actually has one of the highest points in the park, which I've stood on. It's basically 5 feet tall. I could look right across to a building across the street on 7th Avenue and Central Park. By the 1840s, members of the city's elite were publicly calling for the construction of a large new park in Manhattan. Two of the main proponents were William Cullen Bryant, the editor of the New York Evening Post, and Andrew Jackson Downing, one of the first American landscape designers. The Special Committee on Parks was formed to survey possible sites for the proposed large park. One of the first sites considered was Jones Woods, a 160-acre tract of land between 66th and 75th Street on the Upper East Side. The area was occupied by multiple wealthy families who objected to the taking of their land, particularly the Jones and Schmerhorn families. Downing stated that he would prefer a park of at least 500 acres at any location from 39th Street to Harlem River. Following the passage of an 1851 bill to acquire Jones Woods, the Schmerhorns and Joneses successfully obtained an injunction to block the acquisition, and the transaction was invalidated as unconstitutional. So again, we see the power of money, the privilege of being anything other than black at the time and present time, and the disgust that it leads to. The second proposed site was for a large public park, was a 750-acre area labeled Central Park, bounded by 59th Street and 106th Street, between 5th and 8th Avenue. The Central Park plan gradually gained support from a variety of groups. After a second bill to acquire Jones Woods was nullified, the New York State Legislature passed the Central Park Act in July 1853. The act authorized a board of 5 commissioners to start purchasing land for a park, and it created a Central Park Fund to raise money. In the years prior to the acquisition of Central Park, the Seneca Village community was referred to in pejorative terms, including racial slurs. Park advocates and the media began to describe Seneca Village and other communities in this area as shanty towns, and the residents there as squatters and vagabonds and scoundrels. The Irish and black residents were often described as wretched and debased. The residents of Seneca Village were also accused of stealing food and operating illegal bars. The village's detractors included Edward Vail, the park's first engineer, who wrote a report about the refuge of 5,000 squatters living on a future site of Central Park, criticizing the residents of people with very little knowledge of the English language and with very little respect for the law. While a majority of Seneca Village residents were landowners, most residents had formal or informal agreements with landlords. Only a few residents were squatters with no permission from any landlord. This was also a time that black people had to check off certain boxes to vote. One being a landowner, the other being residency, which was very difficult during this time period. However, with only 100 registered black voters in New York City at the time, 20 of them resided in Seneca Village. These people worked. These people were nurses, librarians, church officials, deacons, reverends, carpenters, you name it. This was a booming community that was taken from them and is currently widely unknown to the general public. So I'd advise you to take some time out next time you're in the park, next time you're over by that great lawn, take a walk over towards the west end of the park between 82nd and 89th, and you'll find some information about Seneca Village. There's a few kiosks that's lined up throughout the park with QR codes that you can scan. You could check out the Central Park Conservatory for more information. I thank you and I urge you to go check this area out. History, black history. Eshawn Hall, Myrrh. Love. I was overcome with different feelings, having traveled down to the park today, seeing everybody enjoy the day. Feelings range from anger to joy to sorrow to pain to happiness to curiosity. You name it. Taking this walk, it's a vibe. I could feel the presence of my ancestors as I stepped through the park. I got stopped a couple of times with my camera, or questioned rather a couple of times with my camera, and asked, was I looking for birds? Did I see the snow white owl? After 2 or 3 different people, white people, asked me this, I said the next time somebody asks me this, I would let them know why I'm here. And sure enough, a couple asked me that had their children there. I guess that was by design, that was by God, that was by ancestral presence. They asked me what I was doing there, and I let them know. I was doing a project on Seneca Village. This area right here where your kids are drawing with chalk was inhabited by African Americans and was stolen from them. Unjustly, illegally. After their eyes kind of widened, I gave them some information about the area, about the history of Seneca Village, and urged that they check it out. Their kids were within earshot, half listening as they colored different math equations on the cement after clearing the snow. I'll be sure to educate my children on this, as well as bring them to the area so they can walk through and feel what I felt and see what I seen and read what I've read. Plan to do a field trip to the area with Myrrh, and our participants and staff is right there. Take the 6 train to 86th Street. Walk to the 82nd Street entrance. Walk across the park to the west side, past the Great Lawn. There's different kiosks set up for you to read information about the area. And there's a really high summit that stands about 5 feet. It's the highest vantage point in the park. So if you know anything about real estate, you hear location, location, location. These African Americans knew the essence and the need for location, location, location. Whether it's to see guests who are coming, whether it's to see enemies who may be approaching, or whether it's just to look a couple of miles away in either direction to see what's going on. They picked the perfect spot in the park, and I urge you to go check it out to see exactly what I'm talking about. The Great Lawn, they call it great for a reason, is right next to Seneca Village. Be sure to check out this area. You can check out the Central Park Conservatory for more information. I thank you, I urge you, I plead with you, I beg you to go check this area out in person, feel what I felt, see what I see. Share the information with your people, with your loved ones, with your network, with your colleagues. Seneca Village in Central Park.
Here to film some information, get some footage about Seneca Village, and they looking Seneca Village, where formerly enslaved African Americans occupied this area, lived here. More than 80 homes, schools, were able to vote when the requirement was to have property in excess of $250 in residency